can turn this into something positive and maybe it'll spread.
He's the most positive person on his job.
Now you're cured.
I feel
good. Good morning. Welcome to Positively Milwaukee. It is important to remember there's always light in the darkness, even when that darkness is depression. A local woman is trying to spread that message through a podcast.
Mosaics by Terry Bertha McGuire, made from shattered glass. The broken becomes beautiful. Terry Bertha McGuire is helping fractured souls become whole. It's through a free online support community. It's called Giving Voice to Depression.
The idea behind it is that anybody with any sort of a mental health challenge or a mental illness can be very easily and very thoroughly convinced that they're alone in their experience.
Yes, they have an ally, thanks to Terry McGuire's blog, Facebook group, and podcast. She hosts that with her sister, Bridget.
Welcome to the Giving Voice to Depression podcast. We're your co-hosts, Terry and Bridget.
Their social media platforms reach people all over the world who are struggling. It's born out of their own experience.
We have lost people we love to suicide, and we both live with depression.
McGuire realizes the stigma of getting help for mental health must be erased.
If I'd limped for 2 years, somebody would have said, "You're still limping? You need to get in and see a doctor. You could have sprained something, you could have broken something, maybe you have a fracture."
Part of her own healing is knowing that she can help others.
We have a little widget on our website where someone can leave us a message. And a woman just said, I might cry. She said, "I hope that when you go to bed at night, you saved someone's life." And how do you stop? How do you stop what you're doing when someone tells you that? I can't tell the stories without crying. I just can't. You can't see somebody hurting and just say, "Oh, it must be really hard to be you." When you can actually say, reach into that darkness, right? Say, take my hands. I promise you it gets better. I promise you I was there. There is tremendous power in that.
Terry Bertha McGuire is proving that like fractured glass, lives broken by depression can be transformed into a new mosaic of beauty and inner peace.
I'll die satisfied that I did something with this life.
And she certainly has. If you would like to hear Terry's podcast, we have a link for you. All you have to do is go to tmj4.com/links. Well, it feels good to give back to your community, but for some, it's more than that. It's a calling. Sister McCannon Brown has been following that calling for much of her life.
Sister McCannon Brown, a powerful advocate for the poor. She's been called the Mother Teresa of Milwaukee.
Carol, we have a society that we create ostracism. We stigmatize people for being homeless, even though homelessness can happen to anyone.
Twice a week, about 150 people get in line here at the McCannon Brown Homeless Sanctuary. They get enough food for a week.
There's a rumor that you did not necessarily want this site named after you. Is that true?
Well, I don't ever want to be perceived as doing this for self-glorification. I don't want that. But I understand why they chose to do that. I have these conversations with God about that. This is not a me, myself, and I thing. This is a we thing. We have a fun way of saying it's a G thing and a we thing.
Sister McCannon has been a champion of the underprivileged for almost 3 decades. Her devotion to uplifting people like Raymond Woods is legendary.
I was homeless a lot longer than I expected, but she had helped me out.
Woods has been volunteering for Sister McCannon for 16 years. One night, while homeless, he spent the night in a garbage can and was almost thrown away, literally.
What stopped me from pretty much sleeping out here on the streets was this last time when I was sleeping in a garbage can. I guess the truck came and didn't know I was in a garbage can and start lifting it up. And it kind of shook me a little bit, so I knew I was ready to get disposed of.
Woods is inspired by Sister McCannon's determination to help the less fortunate. Board member Karen Dubas echoes the same sentiment.
Sister McCannon is a great leader. She leads with compassion, she leads with respect and love. People come when Sister calls because they believe in our mission for the McCannon Brown Homeless Sanctuary, and they believe in Sister.
And through the unconditional love of people like Sister McCannon Brown, our world becomes shinier, brighter. We see that we can unite when guided by the principle that no man is better than the next.
And Sister McCannon says she learned to love and care for people from her parents. She watched them as a young girl treat everyone with dignity, no matter where they came from or who they were. An important lesson. Coming up after the break, visit a shop that's trying to help people in Milwaukee access fresh food. And you'll meet a young entrepreneur who's already seen a lot of success. Welcome back. There is no pain quite like losing your mother, but like any hardship, it can make you stronger. For Dana Johnson, the death of her mom inspired her to help others.
Have the strength to rise.
Memories of a cherished mother.
You shine like a beacon.
My mother's my best friend. She was the life of the party.
Dana Johnson's mom, Judy Patterson, died of breast cancer. But from tragedy, a passion is born.
Well, she passed on January 8th of 2003. And since then, I have found my way through various organizations to make certain that I advocate not only for a state level in Wisconsin, but nationally in DC as well.
During the pandemic, Dana Johnson launched a new nonprofit LLC. It's called the pinktabletalk.org.
Hello, my name is Dana Johnson.
She hosts conversations about the disease on several platforms, including YouTube and social media.
And it simply is a conversation that I have been having with women and men, and also invited a few doctors and oncologists as well as scientists to come to the table and just simply speak their truth and talk about their perspective on breast cancer so that it could reach out to the masses and hopefully educate, others.
So far, an enthusiastic reception.
It's just been a phenomenal experience thus far and very humbling.
The Pink Table Talk promotes action.
It is education driven, it's research driven, and it's policy driven.
With the Pink Table Talk, we will be tackling the educational component as it relates to the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
But never far from Johnson's mind, recollections of her extraordinary mom.
I just feel like she was just always just there.
What do you miss most about her?
Our conversations.
Her mom's example inspires Dana to be the best possible mom to her own 10-year-old son.
I think back to when I was a Girl Scout and all the sacrifices that she made for me.
Like a medicine to help heal.
So join us and take a seat at the table.
The pinktabletalk.org emerges as a poignant tribute to Dana's guardian angel.
Being able to bring this platform makes me feel like I'm doing something special.
And she is. It's amazing to see the wonderful things that Dana's been able to do through her work. We do have a link for you at tmj4.com in case you want to listen to her podcast. Well, it takes a lot of smarts to start up a new business and a lot of self-confidence. John Daniels has both, and he's only 12. It's a great story about believing in what's possible.
Let's face it, when you check out a website for a local business, you don't really expect to see this. A 12-year-old CEO.
I pretty much am the one-man shop. I design all my cards from photography or art.
John Daniels IV is in charge of his own business, Pontum MKE. We talk over a filmed Zoom interview.
But explain to me what Pontum is.
Pontum is focused on building bridges through creativity.
Daniel sells and designs custom cards and stationery.
I take the photography mostly myself, and I edit it to make it into a piece of art.
So how's business?
Been able to do some orders from Wisconsin, Illinois, all the way to Texas and Florida lately.
Yes, Mom and Dad are huge motivators. Clearly, they invest in their son's future.
I think the biggest lesson they've taught me is to strive for excellence and know that nothing's impossible.
Mom, Erica Joy Daniels, admits she even gets emotional dividends from her only son.
He's absolutely a joy. His skills, his passion, but you know what stands out to me, Carol? It's his heart. He has such a old soul, compassionate heart. He challenges me, motivates me, and encourages me, and I look at him and see hope.
Daniel's father, John Daniels III, believes self-discovery is vital to molding future moguls.
Finding things that your child is interested in and just expose them to that over and over and over again. I grew up in a time where you didn't always ask your parents questions. I've given him that freedom to set some guidelines so that we can have open and honest conversations, which allows him to discover so many things.
Having a support system is very important and very crucial.
When I asked John Daniels IV about his goals for the future,
I'm also a finance person. I love to have investment advice for people and help them know how to manage their money. But I've mostly had mostly adult clients so far. But
wait. Now, John, you're 12 years old and you're telling me you have financial literacy clients who are adults.
Yes, and I know how blessed I am to be able to have the knowledge that I do.
So for any young dreamers hoping to be entrepreneurs, you may want to heed the advice of young John because he's already yielding results.
Anything is possible when you put your mind to it.
A 12-year-old financial advisor. Can you imagine that? Now, if he is this talented and successful so young, I know John's going to accomplish a lot of great things for the rest of his life. This next story is a true example of love thy neighbor. Gina Nigro's store name says it all. She is trying to work toward the greater good in Milwaukee.
I think people are hurting.
Just one reason why Gina Nigro opened this small shop with big hopes. Welcome to Greater Good MKE.
So we're just a teeny tiny little neighborhood, pay what you can produce store.
This retired flight attendant wanted to offer neighbors in need a place to connect and pay what they could afford for fresh food.
Neighbors have been coming in. Some have paid more, some paid less.
And so far, positive reaction from neighbors. Clients love this option to get or share healthy food. It's a shop that feels warm and inviting.
Amazing feedback. Yeah. The church across the street from me gifted me some money to help pay for my rent.
Nigro thought about this concept after volunteering at local food pantries.
They offer such a good, service to our community. The one thing that they don't have is fresh produce. Fresh produce is hard to navigate.
And Greater Good MKE gives respect to those in need.
I just think it offers a different kind of dignity to people that are coming in.
Nigro says she was motivated by a higher power. It was a tragedy in her own life that made Gina Nigro more determined to lift others.
About 10 years ago, my husband died suddenly, and my world pretty much came crashing down. I was surrounded by people of faith, people who loved me and helped the boys and me get back on our feet. I've learned that God is my rescuer.
And she's always remembered the wisdom of her husband's mother.
My mother-in-law was the one that told me, this can make you bitter or this can make you better, and you'll have that choice.
Nigro's choice is clear. She was made better as she extends love to all.
Some people have to go through hard times alone, and I just want them to know that, there's somebody here and that their neighbors care about them. I know it's just fruits and vegetables, but I think it's more than that. I want them to know that God loves them. If we can offer just a little bit of hope here, that there's a better story, that people will and want to share what they have for their neighbors, I think that it's worth it. So far, I can see God working.
Wow, and it is always amazing to see how people can actually turn the worst tragedies of their lives into something filled with love and kindness for others. So thank you, Gina, for your service to the community. And we have more stories after the break, including how a couple turned homelessness into a way to help. And you're going to meet the woman who mentored a world-famous young poet. Well, you might have seen Amanda Gorman's poetry reading at President Joe Biden's inauguration. Well, a Shorewood native had the opportunity to mentor Gorman at a very young age, and we talked to her about Gorman's incredible success.
You compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man.
It was a tough assignment for any writer. Find words of hope after a deadly pandemic, deep political division, and a capital insurrection. But Amanda Gorman found the words when she became the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history with her reading of The Hill We Climb.
While democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated.
A Shorewood native knew Gorman years before the young poet's international acclaim. Award-winning poet, author, and editor Dinah Berland graduated from Shorewood High School in 1959. She calls Milwaukee the place of her youth and has a fondness for her hometown.
Did you know when you first met Amanda that she was somebody special?
Oh, absolutely. There was no question.
Berland met Gorman through a group called Right Girl, which pairs mentors with teens.
That just has to feel spectacular knowing you had a part, you played a part in her success.
Well, I'm just thrilled for her. You know, I don't really take any credit because she was already very accomplished. I'm happy that I was able to bring those things to her, and I'm just gratified to have her as a friend. I think of her as a friend now.
Berland recalls a teen of poise, confidence, and natural talent.
We stayed in this nice little Georgetown hotel where she dressed and put on her makeup, all the while listening to Hamilton on her phone. And then we took a fancy Uber car to the Library of Congress, and that's where that picture was taken when I sent you. She gave a reading that just was a knockout, and she got a standing ovation. This is for her. She is the right person to be the inaugural poet.
And as we mentioned, Dinah Berland is an accomplished poet as well. In 2020, she released an award-winning book of poetry called Fugue for a New Life. And nice to see her giving back to a younger soul. Well, oftentimes when you suffer through something challenging, you want to prevent others from having to do the same. John Hines and Laura Marsh spent years homeless, and now they're showing others how to get back on their feet.
This is a story of love, survival, homelessness, and hope. But let's start with the love. Married couple Laura Marsh and John Hines met 15 years ago when both were homeless.
John came in and he was talking to his friend, a few people ahead of me, and I looked at him and he looked at me and it was like, BAM!
Both remember leaving toxic homes when they were younger.
I was a teenage runaway.
And that meant a fight for survival. John was shot in the head while the two tried to score drugs.
The bullet went right here in his face, and then to dig it out from behind his ear, and he's got a big scar right here from the brain surgery. He's got a plate right here.
That violence was a warning shot. It was time to put an end to drugs and living outside.
That's what changed our lives for the better. That was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, God is awesome. Just talk to God. We need as much as God we can have.
So you don't use drugs and you don't steal anymore?
No, we don't steal anymore. No, I'm too scared now. I'm old. Jail was all right when I was younger, but I'm too old for that now.
We're not still.
Today, the couple is drug-free and living in their own place. John even has a job.
He's working at Goodwill. He don't miss no days.
They have written 2 books hoping to give insight on the plight of the homeless, Living in the Shadows of Milwaukee and On the Trail.
We wrote the first book, Living in the Shadows of Milwaukee, when we were on the streets. We wrote that book. And then the second book we wrote when we were taking people into our house.
Both know what it's like to feel invisible.
I was sitting there crying one day and they just kept walking past me.
So today, with a new home, children and grandchildren they adore, there's a new purpose, pride, and hope for tomorrow. Despite minor clashes, their love is strong. Every day there's little moments that you want to, you might want to strangle each other.
I want to do it now.
You know what? You can see the love.
Yeah, I do love him. So much. I love him so much too. We've been together through a lot.
Yeah.
Mwah. That's my baby. He still gives me lightning. Boom.
They were so fun to talk to. Now, I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing how kind and helpful people really can be, even after they've been through tough times themselves. It is so gratifying. Well, what is red, loud, and a great reason to smile this week? Fire trucks. Check out these vintage fire trucks. The West Bend and Sheboygan Fire Departments are restoring them. Now, one was a working truck in the 1940s, the other in the 60s and 70s. They're all going to be used for parades and ceremony. How cool are they? And check this out. A woman from Vernon in Waukesha County has won a huge honor, a Guinness World Record. Deb Hoffman has the largest Winnie the Pooh collection in the world with more than 20,000 pieces. You might recognize that fuzzy yellow face from all his adventures with Christopher Robin. Hoffman is estimating this collection to be worth around $1 million. Really special. Don't go away. I'm going to be back. I have my quote of the week. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. Our quote of the week today comes from Benjamin Franklin. Franklin, of course, one of this country's founding fathers and one of the leading minds of his time. And as a former teacher, this was always an important message to me because the more kids invest in a project, the more they get out of it. And we should all remember that. So, as always, stay positively Milwaukee.